This is the exact opposite of the truth. It's not just untrue, it's the diametric opposite of the truth. The only reason that law was passed forcing the release of the files was because that was what was required to get the Trump administration, the Trump Justice Department, to release the files. Now, Pam Bondi claims they released them in an act of transparency. They were digging in their heels and kicking and screaming to resist, to avoid releasing those files. Now they claim they were being transparent when they finally were forced to release them by an act of Congress. An act, by the way, which would not have been required if the president were not refusing to release the files. This is something that is well within his authority as president.
Okay, and needn't have gone all the way to Congress. Okay, but I'm now going to ask you a big picture question, sir, which is that the Epstein files issue is obviously far from over, especially when you look at some of the other countries. But it almost looks like a done deal as far as America is concerned. It's tragic and shameful.
It looks clear that there's a lot of extremely shady stuff that's been going on involving wealthy and powerful people across the world, as you say, for a very long time, apparently going back decades. And so there's a lot of culpability to go around here because it's a long time ago that Jeffrey Epstein was convicted and imprisoned with a very light sentence, mind you, for the sexual abuse of children. And yet many of these people at least remained very friendly with him for years afterwards, which itself is shocking. But that said, now that it's all coming out, other countries are far ahead of the United States so far in pursuing accountability, as we see in Britain and elsewhere. Norway, France, they're pursuing this aggressively. And I hate to say it, but I think it's because at the very least there's a more intact sense of shame, apparently, among the elites in those countries, a sense of shame that is evidently entirely missing, at least from the Trump administration and its allies here in the United States.
Right. Pam Bondi, in fact, did not look at those survivors as well. And every one of them said that they weren't able to contact the Justice Department till now. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks much, Mr. Spencer, for speaking to us on this special broadcast. Turning attention now from the US to UK. As I said, this is a global story, not just about America. And the upheaval at Downing Street is now becoming even more intense as the pressure is mounting on Keir Starmer. In fact, several Labour MPs now feel that Keir Starmer must make way for another leader, since the charges are not just grave, but they also constitute several key violations. Now, the entire issue is that you have Peter Mandelson, Starmer's key aide, who's been named in the Epstein files, and it's alleged that he was actually trading important details. It was not just that he knew Epstein, but the relationship went far more than that. And that's an explosive charge that actually can bring down a government. Now, add to this the Tories that have been pushing for Starmer's blood. The Conservatives say that they lost their very popularly elected government under Boris Johnson due to issues of impropriety. And the yardstick should be the same when it comes to Keir Starmer as well. I'm going to play out that soundbite of a defiant Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, and then we talk more on how long he can stay in 10 Downing Street.
Making the decision to have appointed him in the first place. Had I known at the time what I know now, or knew in September, I'd have never done it. And that's why today I've apologised for the fact that I appointed him in the first place and I believed his lies.
The monarchy has taken action against Andrew, and yesterday is another example of that. I think as long as it is only an Andrew situation, then I think the monarchy will be safe. The king is popular, the queen is well received, and the two most popular members of the royal family are the Prince and Princess of Wales. So I don't, it tarnishes the monarchy, of course it does. But I think the monarchy as an institution is still there, and as long as it continues to have the support of politicians in Westminster and a good, clear majority of support amongst the public, the monarchy is pretty safe, regardless of of what happens.
All right, those were important sound bites coming in from the UK. Let's get in Nicholas Nugent joining us on the broadcast for his take on how long Keir Starmer can delay the inevitable. Or is it actually inevitable right now? Nicholas, let me start by asking you just that. What is it looking like for Keir Starmer? Can he survive this storm?
Well, I'm not going to predict how long he'll last. I will only say that it is very serious indeed for him. He seems to have ridden the storm last week and gained the support of a majority of the Parliamentary Labour Party. That's what matters. But so many voices have been raised against him, including privately from cabinet members. We don't know who they are, but there's so much criticism. But let's look at what this is about, because we've already lost the highest profile victim of this scandal. That's to say the British ambassador to Washington, Lord Mandelson. And that reflects so badly on the Prime Minister and his team, because they, against some advice, appointed him to this very, very important role. Of course, he's a gay man, so he wasn't implicated in the paedophilia or the misogyny.
That's an assumption, sir.
I'm sorry?
That's an assumption.
All right, that's an assumption. But the point I'm making is that he's being fingered for other reasons, for corruption reasons, suggested corruption. I mean, everything is assumptions, because the fact that people's names appear in the Epstein files does not make them guilty of an offence. I think that's a point you need to make very clearly, because all those people you've mentioned, we only know that they are associated with Epstein. They don't know of any particular wrongdoing in most cases. And that's what I'm saying. What's worrying about the Mandelson affair is that it appears to point at some corruption, breaching confidentiality.
Nicholas Nugent, thanks so much for speaking to us. Keir Starmer may be on borrowed time. He's lost political capital. His government is weakened. And that has been the big impact of the Epstein files in UK as well. We're talking about Prince Andrew's. Well, I'm going to play out this report, viewers, that tells you about the disgraced royal who's now lost all his royal titles, given his deep linkages with the Epstein files. Shocking details in this report.
A dramatic turn in a royal scandal shaking the UK and reverberating around the world. Former royal, once known as Prince Andrew, has officially vacated his iconic Windsor residence, Royal Lodge. The development came in the wake of his brother King Charles III's decision to strip him of his royal titles and honours. The Royal Lodge is a 30-room mansion, long synonymous with privilege, power, and now controversy. In a symbolic end to his life as a senior royal, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor walked away from the estate that he had called home for more than 2 decades. The move followed an extraordinary decree by King Charles that saw Andrew stripped of the style and titles he once held. The resignation from this stately home comes amid intensified scrutiny over his past association with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. In a major embarrassment for Andrew, it has been reported that the King is ready to support UK police examining claims that the former prince gave confidential information to Epstein. His former wife, Sarah Ferguson, who also lived at Royal Lodge, has now moved out and is charting her own course, even as previously released documents have drawn renewed attention to her past correspondence with Epstein. As this royal saga continues to unfold, questions of accountability, legacy, and the very future of the monarchy now hang in the balance. With Vishal Vivek, Bureau Report, NDTV World.
All right, viewers, we're slipping into a very short break. We come back on the other side and tell you the story in India. Union Minister Hardeep Singh Puri has also been caught in the crosshairs as far as the Epstein files saga is concerned. We play out what he said with regard to his name being in those files. Stay with us.
He brings the authority of leadership in a world where AI is redefining the balance of global power. Meet Rishi Sunak at the NDTV In.AI Summit, 18 February, on the NDTV network.
Straight from the heart of the newsroom to the core of the stories shaping your world. Join me, Gargi Rawat, as I track all the developments as they break. Live from the NDTV newsroom, weekdays at 4 p.m.
Across the country, he has tracked the pulse of power from Washington to Korea. Witnessed history being made in global capitals and conflict zones. Brought clarity to complex issues of national security and international affairs. Aditya Raj Kaul, covering international affairs like no one else, only on NDTV network. The sharpest minds driving the global AI narrative. Policymakers, founders, technology leaders. Global perspectives, Indian priorities, the definitive conversation on AI. 18th February, New Delhi, NDTV In.AI Summit 2026 on the NDTV network.
Alright team, our new order show is ready. Now we need a promo. Something cool, something sharp.
Well, I'm sure we'll be having outstanding reviews, solid suggestions.
Expert advice.
The latest trends. It's a lot simpler. We'll help people make the
Now in India, Union Minister Hardeep Singh Puri's name has cropped up in the Epstein files. The minister has clarified that he had met the financier just 3 or 4 times in his entire tenure, and that too in relation only with talking up the India investment. Listen in to what he told my colleague Padmaja Joshi.
If I have to step down or being asked to step down, then I think people are living in cuckoo land. There must be something else I would have done. But because I met a person 11 years ago or 12 or 14 years ago, actually 14, 2013 and 14, which is about 12 years ago, when I was not a part of the government, okay? Those guys had this thing. In UK, the storm is about Peter Mandelson. The guy was passing on information to him. Information which was tradable. And he was passing on information. This is a violation of all kinds of ethics rules. I'm not getting into, I know Peter Mandelson, etc. So please, if we have the ability to draw a distinction between one and the other, so
So to a moral responsibility hoti hai. Guilt by association.
Guilt by association, to meet a person twice. Tomorrow you go and commit a crime and somebody shows the clip of mine saying you're guilt or you met Padmaja Joshi and so and so. All kinds of things people will say about you. Yeah? And so just because I gave you an interview, meri guilt by association hogi. This Alice in Wonderland characters, Alice in Cuckooland, his father was a prime minister when I went to meet Mr. Prabhakaran, crossing the mines in Jaffna. Okay, and I flew him here for the India-Sri Lanka peace agreement. Now, because I met a terrorist, wo ho gaya. I mean, look at what the standards are. I said, listen, out of all this, if they want to come on something, I would advise them, don't take a 10-second clip from one of my interviews and put an AI generation on it. Please look at the context. What was the context in 2008? What was the context in 2014? As soon as we knew and we became clear on who this guy was, we cut our losses.
You've never been to the island?
No way.